Hey folks, I'm Jack Fossett and welcome to this special guitar rigs video showing you how to get kind of a cool classic rock tone out of a Fender Blues Junior using a humbucking guitar. So this, real quick, we'll start off. This is a Gibson SG Standard. This is, I love this SG. It sounds really awesome. It sounds like everything you'd want an SG to be. This is a 2014 SG Standard that has Lust for Tone pickups in it. These are 59 Lustbuckers, as well as a Lust for Tone wiring harness. And it's just a, it's an awesome rock SG. It really has some nice punch to it, nice clarity, great guitar for this type of sound. So the way that I dial it in to get a classic rock sound, one of the important things with this amp if you want a classic rock sound is to push it a little bit, which generally isn't going to be a problem because if you're really looking for a cool classic rock sound, could very well be in a band setting. If you want to do it at home, just for home use, you're probably not going to quite get the sound that you want without a pedal, as far as getting into that kind of really nice, crunchy, saturated territory. But you can get that sound on the amp kind of on its own if you're in a band setting and you have a drummer and you can, push the amp to higher volumes where it's not going to be unmanageable. So what I have done is I have the volume turned all the way up. Now, when you use the master volume, it's basically like master volume is your volume, volume is your gain. That's basically how it works in this kind of setup. If you turn the master volume all the way up, then your volume is just like a volume. It basically takes the master volume out of the circuit. Now, a lot of people use the Blues Junior that way. I don't like to use it that way because I found that turning the master volume all the way up, it doesn't actually get the power tubes going, turning the master all the way up. The volume gets when the amp really starts to open up towards its full volume, that's when the power tubes start getting warmed up. So in order to dial in the right amount of gain without just having the amp wide open, I like to use the master volume on this amp. I think it works well. So I have the master volume up a bit that the amp is really starting to kind of engage those power tubes more. The volume is all the way up. The fat switch is on. Now here's where it gets interesting. The treble's all the way off and the bass is all the way up. Now this Blues Junior is the tweed one. It has the Jensen speaker in it. It is not the one with the matte black amp top. It still has the chrome reflector chassis there, and it's an NOS Blues Junior with a Jensen speaker. It's very bright, and as you can hear, it's not lacking for brightness with the treble rolled all the way off. It still has a real snarl and punch and cut to it. So treble's all the way off, bass is all the way up, and then the middle is up higher than I would usually have it. Now again, the fat switch is engaged, and the fat switch kind of gives it not only more bottom and mid-range, it also gives it a little bit of a gain boost. So you're going to want to have that engaged if you're going for that classic rock sound. And the other thing is to keep the reverb really low. This is one of those long, springy, reflective reverbs, and it pretty quickly can get out of hand. And one of the things that I found about this reverb on this amp is that the reverb, some of those, so the treble can be a little bit harsh, and some frequencies in the mid-range can be a little bit harsh. I talk about this in a lot more detail if you want to check out my full Blues Junior tone tips video and review. That's got a whole bunch of stuff in there. But basically, the treble can be harsh, the mid-range can have some unpleasant frequencies. Well, and the reverb is really bright, and those frequencies that aren't great about the treble and the mids, it's almost like they get reflected and bounced around when you get the reverb going. So I'm not crazy about the reverb on this amp. Luckily, if you're looking for a classic rock tone, you're probably not going to want a ton of reverb anyway. Maybe a little bit if you're kind of getting into lead territory, but this type of reverb, this is a very old-fashioned Fender-y type of reverb, and you can get a real cool, drier, crunchy tone if you back that reverb off. So the reverb's really low. It is on a little bit, but it's really low. And that's it. And I've got the tone rolled off on the SG a little bit. As you heard, it cleaned up really nicely. You roll the volume back and you get that kind of nice clean, so it's not crazy over the top. It's not also crazy saturated. This is not like, it's not making it sound like a Marshall stack, but it is a really cool classic rock tone that you can do a lot with. I would think kind of in the realm of certainly like the Doobie Brothers, Eagles. You could do some really cool Eric Clapton stuff with this. As far as like wanting to get into Led Zeppelin and Aerosmith and stuff like that, maybe if you open the amp all the way up and those power tubes really rip and roar, but they also get to kind of but as with a lot of Fender amps, when you really get those power tubes rolling and it's fully opened up, it's not this type of circuit and this type of Fender, it's not true of all Fenders, like blackface amps are a little bit different, but you know, this type of Fender amp, when it really gets rolling, it's not entirely refined. It's almost got like this almost fuzz tone to it, this sort of chaotic clipping kind of fuzzy, snarly sound. It's cool, but it's not exactly the sound that you may be going for. But again, they're very usable, really cool classic rock tones you can get out of this amp if you know how to dial it in. I'm Jack Fossett. Thanks for tuning in to Guitar Rigs. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe, and we will see you next time.